Hey guys, so I want to share with you a quick exercise to pretty much instantly improve your client's spinal mobility. So this exercise will actually, it's pretty cool because it serves two purposes. It'll help improve spinal mobility and it will also help improve, to some degree, hip mobility as well. So if you look at the spine, it drives the hips. So it's kind of the engine that drives it in there. So it's going to work in a twofold way. So if you have clients who need to improve their spinal mobility, if they have any kind of injuries as a result of lack of mobility, particularly when we're talking about rotation, because rotation is such an important movement pattern. It's one that I've discovered that so many people lose due to more sedentary lifestyles, jobs that require a lot of sitting, people who drive a lot. Rotation, I find that they start to lose that ability to rotate well, and then it results in a whole host of compensation patterns and injuries. I'm stumbling over my words this morning. So anyway, that's what we're going to work on. So if you have clients who are going through this, if they are they're getting treatment options, so anything from physical therapy, massage therapy, seeing a chiropractor, if they're doing stretching or foam roller techniques for self-mobilization, these are great treatments and methods to use. The only potential problem with it is that when they're used, they're pretty much short-term at best, the results that they get. So if they get some improvement from these techniques, but they have to keep getting these techniques done to keep the improvements. So what I want to share with you, the exercise we're going to do, it's going to help them kind of rewire the body a bit, reestablish some neural programming to train them, their brains to program their bodies to establish healthy rotation patterns, just getting all this stuff back. And what we want to do is we want to integrate these exercises as soon as possible after. If they're getting treatments done, if they get massage therapy or chiropractic work and they get manually like joint manipulation or things like that are improving their mobility, we want to jump right in pretty much right after and integrate this kind of a movement pattern. And the reason why is because once they have that freedom of mobility, if any gains that they get, that's the time that we want to take advantage of it and then rewire their own neurological system to produce movement, the movement that we're looking for, right? So the closest you can get this exercise to the time that they've had their treatment or after they had their treatment or their stretching or whatever they're doing done, the better. All right, so what this is going to be, it's just a fundamental push pattern just with a couple different spins on it. So let's get right into it. So for this one, you can use a band like I'm using here. You can use a cable stack. Doesn't really matter. We don't want to overload the pattern. Again, we're really working with neural facilitation here, so just working on movement patterns. So we definitely don't want to overload this. So what we're going to do is you will not be able to see my feet. So I'll just kind of describe what I'm doing with my feet. I just couldn't get everything in the picture. So for your stance, we're going to take a fairly wide stance. Don't go excessively wide though. I mean, you don't want to be way out here, like doing the splits or anything. But at the same time, if you're too narrow, what you'll find is that you can't get enough stabilization. It's just decreasing your base of support. So we're going to go pretty wide. I find that a bit, wider than the shoulders does really well. So here's what's going to happen on the back leg, right? I'm getting loaded to my left side. So my left leg initially is my load leg. So all my weight's there. My foot on my left leg, on the back leg, is toes are facing straight ahead, okay? On the front leg, I've got my toes facing straight ahead as well, okay? And what's gonna happen is, the way we're gonna do it is, it's kind of a three-part movement. So you're gonna begin with a weight shift. So I'm loaded on my back leg. As I begin my push, first thing I want to do is just kind of shift my weight to the front leg. So we're gonna transfer weight to the front leg. Involve the rotation pattern, so you're looking for the trunk and the hip, let them rotate, and then let that drive you into the push pattern. All right, so I'll show you it kind of in real time here. Weight shift, trunk rotate, and then into the push. Now what you're going to let your back leg do is let it naturally rotate. Your hip will internally rotate. You go in the direction of the push, just let it do that. You don't want to keep your back leg like rigid when you're doing this, so just let it move naturally and it'll be comfortable. So we're going to use that pattern. Now what you can do here, what happens here is that because the cable, we're loaded over here, so there's a little bit more potential torque on the spine. right, in this position. So what we can do to counterbalance it is we can use the other arm as a driver. So what we can do is we can have the opposing arm here. So I'm pushing with the left and I'm going to pull with the right. Okay? So what this does is it works on decreasing the torque on the spine, and it also helps facilitate the push pattern, right? So the pull from my right arm helps facilitate the push on the left, and vice versa. And this is important because if you think about the reciprocal movement patterns, walking, running, sports activities, everything we do involves reciprocal movement patterns. Think of how our arms move. So it's designed to work that way. Also, what we're getting from this is we are training the anterior oblique system, and at the same time we're facilitating the posterior oblique system. So these slings of the body, these systems that work together, we're integrating it all in one. All right, so one last thing on this. For repetition range, you can, don't overtax the nervous system with like real high reps. You want to get really good quality, so anywhere between, I would say, a bare minimum of 5 reps per side up to maybe 10 should be plenty. And then one last thing on the front leg, what you can do with the foot when your toes are pointed straight ahead, that's going to be the easier way. It's going to be a bit easier for stabilization. So the closer that you turn the toes in the direction of your push, so if I turn my toes like 90 degrees to the right, so they're facing straight ahead, then that's gonna decrease the stability as you get into the push. So if you once your client can master it, that whole pattern with the toes facing straight ahead, you can start progressively moving the toes, maybe to 45 degrees, and then progressively moving them to 90. So it'll increase the challenge, the stabilization challenge of the movement pattern, all right? So that is your exercise, your fundamental push pattern or functional push pattern to help instantly improve your client's spinal mobility. Try it out, try it on yourself as well, and let me know how it works for you. And of course, drop me a comment on the blog, any questions or comments or feedback that you have, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.